For a moment, I'm in awe at the size and architecture surrounding me, especially the amount of sculptures spread throughout the halls. Amicus immediately begins talking to me, though. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable. There should be screens in most of the rooms, and down those stairs you can find games of amusement as opposed to, like, other games.
Boring games that suck that
shitty
you
games.
have to play. Like, I don't know.
Games of amusement.
It's a very funny turn of phrase. Amicus
jerks his head away from me, looking up as Virginia's familiar voice as Virginia's familiar voice in a very familiar tone echoes around the marble hallways. Gods. Amicus mumbles under his breath as Virginia, her face a mask of fury, approaches. She spares me a glance for a single second before focusing back on Amicus.
You are an hour late.
Am I?
Yes! I've tolerated your tardiness since you were a child, but you've kept the vizier waiting. How could you?
The wolf whisper screams through her teeth, eyes practically bulging from her head.
This is what you do when you're like you're having a fight with your significant other in a public event, and you have to be like, we'll talk about it later.
I've never seen Virginia so angry before. Amicus shifts uncomfortably. Well, it's a holiday, so I disabled notifications.
Like on a cell phone? Are you joking? Emperors do not get holidays. Ever.
Well, consider it strategic.
What?
I am simply letting them know who holds the power here. It will be an advantageous start to our negotiations. He's not good at actually strategizing. He's just good at bullshitting his fuck-ups afterwards.
Like a lot of politicians.
As an excuse. Virginia looks at her brother with borderline disgust.
Well, at least you can make even the most extreme stupidity sound not quite so stupid. I hope you're not planning on bringing your mate in.
For a moment, I don't realize that she's referring to me. Of course not. He's waiting out here. Virginia looks at me again.
My apologies. I hope my brother learns to treat you with more respect in the future. If not, then I'm sure you'll have no trouble finding someone better.
It's interesting to plenty of fish in the sea, the Emperor. What? If you're so worried about wasting time, why are we doing just that?
Teacher Viteris is entertaining them on a tour. You'd better think of a good excuse before they return. Actually, just pretend it didn't happen.
Oh? That sounds like something you wouldn't want me to do.
Chemians are different. I suggest you not try to trick them. Let's go in for now. I think I hear him.
Sure enough, I hear echoing voices up the hallways. Amicus turns to me, giving me a quick hug, again reassuring me that he won't be long before following Virginia up the hall and disappearing behind a sliding door. You know, because negotiations with a different sovereign power are famously short meetings.
Very weighty conversations about very, very important, like world-changing topics. Don't take more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's like a movie. Just go watch a movie. We'll be back afterwards.
I feel like a movie's already 3 hours. I wouldn't even make somebody wait 3 hours for me.
Yeah. Neferu, who I had completely forgotten about, walks past me, heading for the room as well. I frown, noting the dull look on his face, the one he'd been wearing since the carriage ride. Are you alright? I ask him just as he passes me. He glances toward me.
Of course.
He doesn't even make an effort to make it look like that's the case, before walking through the doors as well. The voices get closer, coming from a bend in the hallway up ahead. Not really wanting to be seen, I move back toward the sculptures, hiding myself amongst them. Technically, all of Adastra City knows who I am, my face having been shown on the giant screens in the city, on loop, for months. Since I'm odd enough that I feel like it would just cause more trouble than it'd be worth if I'm seen, Or still, is what it said, not since. So I peer around a statue wolf's waist, feeling like a stalker as I watch the small crowd approaching the door that Amicus, Virginia, and Neferu walk through. A very short, old wolf leads the way, followed by only the second jackal I've ever seen in person. He's taller and thinner than Neferu, and there's an icy cold expression on his face.
I feel like Marco's like, he's like in that little hole where that bending statue is. He's just like peering over the waist of that like guy throwing the discus.
Yeah, just right through the gap. The surprise... all of these statues are surprising to me because they're so thin. And that has not been the wolves that we've largely seen.
I mean, there was Cassius, but he was depicted as being frail, so I guess...
Yeah, you suddenly remember, like, you remember that nerd that runs the, not the old man that's the host, but the, like, the waiter at the restaurant. You're like, oh, right, there's, like, little wolves. Yeah,
no, I mean, there's, they're all body types.
They're not all widescreen like Amicus and Kato, even though that's most of what we've seen.
Honestly, I feel like even the Roman statues I have seen have been a little bit more on them than these guys even have.
Yeah.
I've seen the statue of David before.
These guys are surprisingly thin. Although there was we talked about this a little bit because we were at the Railroad Museum in Sacramento, and they have like the Native American worker like statues and so on, and like they are so like cartoonishly built, and it kind of like puts all statues into context a little bit, like how men are always like
men are men.
Like there's the word statuesque exists for a reason, because that's not how people look. Because in that same museum there was pictures of railroad workers, and they don't look like that. They just look like
thick boys.
Yeah.
For context.
Like they very specifically don't have abs.
Well, okay. So like for context, it's like a statue of a bunch of people who honestly probably didn't want to have to work on the railroads from different cultures working on the railroads, and they're all yoked as hell. But in the grand scheme of things, when you're actually doing real manual labor, you don't end up looking like that. It's like I always remember that scene from Fight Club when they're on the bus and they see an advertisement for like Abercrombie and Fitch or something.
Yeah, and they call it masturbation.
Yeah, he's basically like, they're like, oh yeah, like, oh, do you think that you think this guy like actually fights? Like, ha ha ha. Like they're making jokes about it because no guy who actually does manual labor has the kind of muscles that you get from working muscles you would never actually use just to look good.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of muscles that you work on when you work out to be a bodybuilder that you would never actually use. So if you're just functionally using muscles, you end up looking different in the same way that people who like constantly swim look a different way, or people who like constantly like just lift weights look different than like a person who's like an athletic, who's like a runner. You're using different muscles, you are built different, you build yourself different.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's like when you see like it's like when you see the was it like the strong men and stuff that are like pulling a bus and shit like that.
Oh dude, a lot of those guys you would say
different.
They were overweight. Like some guys like look like they would be unhealthily overweight, but a lot of the guys I've seen like do stuff like that they're just really dense muscle. They're just very dense individuals.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about these statues as a result, like for this conversation and all that. It's like they're actually really realistic because they don't look like the people that we've seen. Like we spent this whole game hanging out with people that are very specifically athletic, and they don't look like the statues of athletes in the same universe, which is exactly what real life is like. It's really interesting. That is interesting.
Because like that one guy throwing that discus has, I feel like a few too many abs on him.
He's way too dehydrated to be doing.
Oh yeah, if you want your
Olympics.
abs to look good, you're supposed to actually dehydrate yourself before a competition. I remember I learned about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the thing. No, it's a
modeling thing.
It's Hugh Jackman is constantly on the verge of like passing out whenever he's filming like shirtless scenes because like
makes me sad for him.
Yeah. And it's like, it's really funny because if you watch, he has a shirtless scene in the first X-Men movie, and he's like person-shaped. And then every sequel, he gets more and more ridiculously jacked, and to the point where he looks like a CG person. Like, he looks fake. And part of it is because, like, he does this inhuman celebrity workout shit, but also he has to, like, dehydrate himself and, like, shrink down. So he's, like, fucking, like, doing the like flesh equivalent of like vacuum sealing his muscles so that the skin like contracts around it, and he's all like That's how you get all that like, that's why he's so fucking like ripply and veiny and shit, but it's also like, he's like, despite looking like this big intimidating bulldog man, you could take him in a fight. He's barely on his feet. Like, he's a wreck in that scene.
Everyone in a fight.
Like,
little do you know.
Like Wolverine, when he's looking like that, is very fragile.
Oh, he's a dainty boy. It's better than Christian Bale, dude. With his, like, I feel like that man's taken years off his life trying to change his body for things.
Yeah, and the stress, because he's just a very angry boy.
Well, he's a lot of pressure on himself.
Yep. Maybe. On himself is the key part of that. He kind of just dives in like, oh yeah, let's fucking go, for some reason, in a way that nobody else does.
There was one movie where, is it one of the ones where he starved himself? And I remember he would just ask people how the food tasted when they were eating, so it made him more motivated and sad while he was acting.
I think it might have been The Machinist.
I feel like it might have been that one.
Which he filmed like between Batman movies.
Well, there's The Machinist and there's the one where he's a drug addict, I want to say boxing coach or something.
Hmm.
He was like amazingly thin in both of those.
It was like that's just a bad idea.
Yeah.
He's like this that whole time. He's like this close to just having a heart attack, and then there's no Batman trilogy finishing. Christian
Bale, don't kill yourself. I could have never imagined a better Patrick Bateman than you.
All right. Hey, Wolverine.
Oh hey. Oh hey.
just spotted the word I just said on the camera. I imagine him to be the Vizier, and next to him walks a rather broad-shouldered creature that vaguely looks like a Wolverine,
like a Hugh Jackman.
I think these are all characters that are in the next game. I think I've seen pictures of them, but not now.
Oh, I know.
I think I might know the characters that looks like a Wolverine. His clothing and the paint on his fur is definitely Chemian, so I assume him to be the ambassador.
Does that mean Neferu paints his fur? I guess that makes more sense than him having beautiful gold on him.
Just having random gold designs everywhere.
I'm a little bit disappointed.
You think that the insides of his ears are just naturally reflective gold?
Yeah.
It's bioluminescence. Finally, a younger wolf brings up the rear, one that has longer fur on his neck, which he styled into a braid. I heard about wolves with manes at some point in my studies. A trait that had been cultivated amongst Adastra's more influential families, a status symbol of the elite. The braided wolf starts to look in my direction, and that's when I pull back quickly, hiding myself behind the marble and waiting until I hear the door slide shut again. That's Scipio, I think. Scipio? Is that how you pronounce? I think that's a real name. There's an entire roster of characters from Chemia and the Smoke Room and Arches and Echo that I just know by their sprites without knowing what happens in any of these stories, and we'll slowly discover these characters, but you just see their designs around. But let's see. I'm left alone, standing amongst the quiet, spotless marble of the Expansive University. I'm very good at my job. At first, I sit on a bench, quietly taking in the architecture, thinking about how cool it would be if I could come here to study instead of your boring Earth school.
Yeah, I want to go to furry college.
He didn't even get to go to Rome, like college, because I replayed the beginning of this game because I was writing about it, and like he's not here for a vacation. He's here for a semester in Rome that he's excited about, and he didn't even get to start it.
Dude.
And now he's like, fuck it, I could just go to school in Wolf Planet instead. That's way cooler than fuck you,
yeah,
Rome.
Mom, you paid for my college degree at Rome University, but I'm gonna drop out to go to furry college.
I'm Rome, so derivative. Though now I know that this is the most prestigious university in Adastra, having seen the giant name carved into the face of the building on the way in. Varro's University. Or just Varro. Only the smartest young wolves study here, along with the wolves from the richest families in Adastra. However, from the handful of times that it came up in Calm's ramblings, it sounded like it was one of the most progressive places on the moon. They only have half as many slaves here,
Yay.
It was one of the first elite universities to allow women to study inside the school.
Woo!
Rather than having to sit in a separate, cheaper building on the outskirts of campus.
I don't want to sit with you smelly losers anyway. Go fuck
That
yourself.
was just 50 years ago, finally allowed under the rule of Amicus's father. Eventually I grow bored with just sitting there and start to walk around, looking at the sculptures and plaques. It's actually deeply embarrassing that it's like the level of progressiveness is for wolves is literally behind us. The people that he's thinking about uplifting or whatever, like
yeah, they thought that we're like barbarians.
I was about to say we got rid of slavery a long time ago, but in some ways we still haven't. But like, 50 years ago for educating women is like, that is a much shorter time ago. That is concerning. I don't know if they have any discrimination of like types of wolves beyond gender.
Well, I mean, they just talked about the braided. I mean, I know it's not like, obviously there's already like a hierarchy of like, if you're a braided wolf or you have longer hair, then you're like a fancier wolf. I'm sure there's some sort of weird like, oh, you don't have long hair, you must be poor.
I wonder if the use of the word mane was referencing the idea that he's literally a maned wolf. I
think that's exactly what they're saying.
Is he like a foot taller than everybody else then? Because like maned wolves are weird shaped.
Well, and it said that that's a trait amongst the elite. Does that mean that? I mean, I guess rich people have always kind of inbred with each other. But yeah, I guess that just means like, oh, well, I don't want to have babies with you. You have short hair. I need to have babies with someone who has long hair.
Elite genetics is a weird idea, because it means like family trees looping back on themselves a little bit.
That means hemophilia.
Heterochromia.
Yeah, there's a lot of the Jarlsberg jaw? That one jaw, that horrible jaw people have because of like that where they sticks out immensely. They have that parody in Family Guy where the guy goes like, "Oh yes, oh they're so rich and fancy, and they talk in a certain way," but it's because their jaw juts out immensely far, and that's like a joke about this like one specific family that inbred so hard that they all had jaws like that. There's a name for that type of jaw. Someone in the comments.
We gotta fix them like pugs.
It's kind of like that, yeah. Please fix the pugs.
Eventually I grow bored with just sitting there and start to walk around, looking at the sculptures and plaques. They give short descriptions of the various wolves the sculptures depict, and I try to piece together what I can with my limited written language knowledge. Notable is the one in the middle, Marrow, the university's namesake. He apparently studied the education system on Amorpha before implementing that system on Adastra. So their whole education system is based on the cats.
They stole it.
Yeah. But we're better off on our own and we should be isolationists. Just ignore all of the history of that being a bad idea.
It's always a bad idea.
It's a self-defeating ideology. This alone shows how different this university is from the rest of Adastra. The wolves, especially the politicians, would never admit to borrowing anything from the cats, even though they borrowed plenty. But even here, there are only sculptures of wolves. No siblings, no children, nothing. It reminds me of one of the biggest issues I've been wrestling with for the past few months, how separate I feel from this society. It's to be expected. I'm on an alien world after all.
I wonder if this is relatable to anybody.
Who could feel isolated on a planet where there might not be anybody else like them and it could be dangerous to even check? But it's a world of many different creatures and cultures, yet the wolves seem to be doing their best to ignore that. I realize that I will never be part of this society, even if humans are successfully integrated into the Galaxius. In fact, I already know what the wolven reaction to human society will be. Suspicion, condescension, and overall jealousy at the idea of a race that seemingly uplifted itself, a species assigned a role that's different than all the rest. It doesn't matter that I'm liked by them now. It's only because I'm seemingly a dumb, parentless ape. They will come to despise me, just as they despise the Chemians. Is it worth it to deal with all that, only to be with Amicus? I know the answer, but I still contemplate. As my thought process spirals, I even think for a moment that maybe Alex had the right idea. But no, thoughts like that always bring me back down. It reminds me that humans, wolves, and all the rest of the Galaxius aren't so different in the end. Which means I have to hope that the parents are different, because I don't think I can trust gods that act like I do. I try to distract myself, walking around the big marble halls, looking into different rooms and reading any inscriptions I can find. The game room is the basement. In the basement is just a series of tables with various board games that I've never learned to play.
Games of entertainment.
Games of entertainment.
As opposed to Monopoly.
After a while, yes. After a while, it becomes clear this isn't going to be a quick meeting. The hours go by slowly, and while I would usually be pretty ticked off at Amicus at this point, I'm mostly just sad. Being alone amongst towering marble pillars isn't so different from the palace, and still, this is actually a nice change of pace. I just wish I could be spending more time with Amicus. Eventually, I find a bunch of folded red cloth piled on a table, looking like banners for what could be the school flag, or colors or something. I grab a couple of these before scouting out a marble bench hidden in the corner of the main room, behind the statues and out of sight of the door. I lie down on the bench, flat on my back, laying the cloth under my head. I'm tired after being woken up so much earlier than I'm used to, and it's not long before I'm drifting off to sleep.
I don't know if I could sleep in a place I've never been before that was
Just
out in public.
Yes,
yeah.
It's a very strange move. Space stretches and twists in the distance. The infinite dark blue, broken here and there with planets, stars, and dust clouds. It's endless, monolithic, passionless. Except there. Its mark is clear on the universe, like a stain, a blemish on the glittering patchwork of stars. The planets die, the stars shrivel, the dust scatters. It's all tainted. The mark is old. It's ancient. It existed before life. Our life. It touches every life form from the youngest child to the oldest sibling. It convulses before your eyes in the dark. It whispers in your ear while you sleep. It brushes your neck when you don't see.
Oh no.
We all feel it. We all know it. It transcends all. It touches all. It becomes all.
I see you.
The black tendrils of its reach already infect everything around you.
They're going to kill you. They're going to kill him. Your purpose is doomed.
And yet, you know this is only the beginning. That soon it will blanket everything.
You will die. He will die. Trapped in the amalgamation. Forever apart.
And that's when it won't hide in the dark anymore.
Oh, look at the nice light change.
Yeah. That's so much effort to change the lighting for each scene like that. I gasp loudly, sitting up on the bench, feeling like something had been sitting on my chest. I feel like I've been holding my breath, or something had pushed it out.
Die.
A faint whisper to my left. When I look, just for the briefest of moments, it feels as if the crouched wolf statue is contorting. Its neck is broken, staring straight back at me. I jump, leaning back as I stare at the grotesquely twisted wolf, but it's not twisted. It's like it always was. And then I'm falling off the bench, landing hard on my ass and sending a jolt of pain through my tailbone. I can't help the involuntary yelp that comes from my mouth. This is such a trip, because it's like, how do you interpret this scene? Because it's like, there's like three options here. One, like if you, there's two forking paths and then another forking path here. One is the question of whether it's real or not. Like, did you actually experience something?
Mm-hmm.
If you assume you did experience something, then it could be that you actually are experiencing on some level some kind of horrifying connection with like the threat that you've been told about.
Yeah.
Or if you don't trust the parents, you could think that this is a thing that the parents are showing you to manipulate you, and it could be completely like, it could just be an invented experience just to fuck with you and to push you to making the choice that they want you to make. Or it's just that fucked up shit where you wake up and you think something's real, and like everyone like
it could have just been like a dream that you would have had normally.
Yes. Like about like once every like 2 weeks or so, I physically jump out of bed because of something that I'm pretty sure is real for about 3 seconds. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a fucked up weird experience. And then if you have variations of sleep paralysis or other things, like you can like be trapped in these weird this weird in between where your imagination just does weird fucked up warped versions of reality, and you just dwell in that. Like the idea that this, like specifically what stands out to me is that after he wakes up, the statue is contorting when he's awake now though, and like that almost makes me think that fucking like Neferu did this to him by just like introducing the idea, and so he had like a weird like waking dream night terror moment, and just like then like his imagination filled in the shit that Neferu introduced when he said this place was essentially haunted.
But yeah, I actually forgot about that.
Yeah.
There's I mean, that leads me to believe that I'm supposed to think that it's a connection with the other. But what you say is very valid in the sense that I don't trust the parents at all. And to be completely fair, the other might not even be something that really exists. If there's just like in the same way that perhaps like if there was somebody trying to convince me that they were God, and you know they knew a predisposition that most people think there's like an antithesis to God, like Satan or something, and they devised one up to talk to me to convince me to do what they wanted me to do. I feel like it's very possible and possibly an idea. I mean, I do think that because of the context that you just said, I think we're supposed to think it's the other. But I mean, I definitely couldn't say for sure.
I figure that the scene on its face is meant to be potentially interpreted as like a hint of like you getting to experience the other, because narratively there's the idea that we just like discussed this as a thing to like set up like
yeah, because it was introduced to us in a way that was relevant
like
to
it's
the
gonna
scene
like
currently.
It's gonna pay off soon, basically.
Yeah,
because first it's set up via your like not your encounter with the parents, but Amicus's encounter with the parents essentially discusses the actual idea of the other. Wait, was that Amicus's encounter? Amicus tells you about it, huh?
Well,
but like it's a thing that wasn't really introduced so much until suddenly it's been coming up a lot.
Well,
so
it's like in the
you can see that as narrative setup for the idea that it's
like,
actually
this
an
is
encounter.
going to come up later, and it's like, and then this coming up immediately after comes off as if a response to that.
But it could also be a lie by the parents, and it could also just be a nightmare. And the ambiguity drives me crazy. Because the stakes are so different depending on whether or not this is a thing you should worry about.
I mean, I inherently don't put stock in dreams, but in this game, we are supposed to put stock in dreams. So as Marco, we're basically dreams are the way we've talked to other entities before. I would definitely interpret this, but although I feel bad for Marco, because now if Marco has any actual dreams in his life, he's gonna assume
know what to think about
that it's
any of
some
it.
form of communication with something, because it was proven to be an actual thing that happened to him before. Imagine having that happen to you one time and you thinking that every other dream you have from that point has some divine meaning when it absolutely does not. That's a horrible existence.
Thanks, God.
Yeah, thanks God.
Marco? Amicus's voice echoes through the halls, making me scramble to my feet, suddenly embarrassed about what just happened. I clear my throat in a way that sounds casual. I'm over here. I move out from behind the statues, glancing one last time at the crouched wolf, neck in its proper position. It
whispers in your ear while you sleep.
When my back is to it, the nape of my neck prickles, and I hurry out from my hiding spot. As I move out into the brightly lit main room, I realize that it's already dark. I've been here all day. Where? Amicus's voice seems to come from further away, up the hall. Here. I just want him to come and get me. I had a nightmare, or something, but it had felt so cold, dark, and real. I hear some footsteps padding up the hall, and I turn to see Amicus come around the corner, his paws clasped together. Is Marco barefoot this whole time?
I mean...
I just had the thought, because they said that they talked about padding, and I'm like, that's a reference to, like, the sound of, like, paw pads, like, running down the hallway. And it just makes me think about, like, I don't remember if, like, Marco has custom shoes or something, because they pretty much threw his clothes away immediately.
Yeah.
Or if he's just barefoot on stone and streets and so on.
I mean, he probably is, only because, I mean, if there's a society of wolves, I'm sure they most likely don't wear shoes very often. I mean, I don't really see why they ever would.
I'm trying to think about it now.
Maybe during the summer, like how you put shoes on dogs. But, I mean...
Trying to think about the... There's so few illustrations where you get to see their entire bodies. I'm trying to remember if it's even in the game itself or if it's just the concept art from back in the day.
We've seen pictures of Amicus's feet, but they've not been...
Yeah, he doesn't wear them.
He's not wearing shoes.
But I think...
And if he's not wearing shoes and he's the Emperor, no one else is fucking wearing shoes.
Yeah, but I think Alex wears shoes. Like, he has, like, sandals with, like, the zigzagging, like... You know, the overlapping X's of, like, bands going up his shin.
Yeah, no, they actually call those gladiator sandals.
Yeah, I think he's wearing those. But I don't remember if that's in the game ever, or if that's just in the concept art that
I don't think we ever see Alex's feet. So I don't think you saw that in the game.
Yeah, I don't know, because I think their feet aren't in frame in the kissing scene. The dance.
No, I don't think so
And that's,
either.
like, the closest you get. Because I don't think you see their feet either in the poisoning scene.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cassius is poisoned. I don't know if you see Cassius's feet or not. But also, not wearing shoes might also just be a status symbol of a rich person.
Yeah, because they just have so few problems. They don't wear real clothes or real shoes.
They're always in places that are nice. So it's like wearing shoes is not. Yeah. You're not walking in the tenderloin of San Francisco where you can literally catch hepatitis from an open wound on your foot if you're walking barefoot. Yeah, it is not that.
It's one of those.
That is true.
It's just one of those funny details where you're like, everyone's kind of wearing regular clothes down here. Like when you go to the, when you see the scene in the restaurant. So you're like, these motherfuckers just walk around with capes and shit because they're just weird. Like, everybody look at us. And like the people at the restaurant aren't dressed like that. So it like recontextualizes all the fucking Cassius's wing.
No, that's definitely that's definitely a lot.
Marco, I am so sorry. They wouldn't agree on anything, and I couldn't excuse myself to come see you because that would make it look as if I...
It's like visiting with like a grandma. It's like you can't leave and you can't make an excuse to leave because grandma will take it personally.
I cut Amicus off by hugging him, just wanting to feel his presence for now. The depressing thoughts I'd had all day, on top of that awful nightmare. At least, I hope it was a nightmare.
It's not.
Had left me feeling like complete shit. Are you alright? I'm quiet for a moment, wondering if I should tell Amicus anything about what I was thinking, what I saw. Then I decide against it, at least for now. I'm just happy to see you. Really? Even after suffering through my complete incompetence all day long? I'm about to scold Amicus for saying that about himself, but then I just end up nodding. Yeah, we all have days like that. Did everyone leave? Yes. The meeting concluded about 10 minutes ago. I had worried you left the university for whatever reason. Sorry. Don't be. Were you sleeping? Yeah. Well, that's good, because I'm hoping, even after how poorly the day went, that you might join me for a late-night Lover's Day celebration.
Ooh-wee.
He never gives up, and I do love that about him. I smile. That sounds great, Amicus. We walk down the steps from the main building into an empty courtyard, all the vehicles gone. I frown. They just left us without any transportation? Oh, yes, I told them to go on ahead. Oh? Why? Do you not wish to walk? Isn't it a little far to walk? I follow Amicus down the steps through the university's gardens before we're back in the forest, walking in the direction away from the palace. Not really. The city and palace are within reasonable walking distance. I walk alongside the wolf, feeling myself relax as we're surrounded by the quiet forest. Huh. I guess I just assumed it was far since we're always using the carriage. We tend to be lazy. That and it's expected by the citizens, as it's seen as more dignified, I suppose. What about security? Shouldn't you have some protection as emperor?
I was just thinking that. I'm like, that's pretty gutsy. You don't see like president walking around like,
yeah.
I'm in a public park.
Granted, the president's not usually this jacked.
The president has never been this jacked.
No.
President.
I haven't exactly seen guns in the setting yet.
That is true.
I look around, feeling almost vulnerable out here in the open with Amicus, used to always having the protection of the palace walls around us. Amicus glances up, and I follow his gaze, immediately spotting the blinking lights of drones above us. Drones are far better than any sapient when it comes to security. Question answered. We're actually under constant surveillance every second. What a hot date. Amicus looks over at me. I suppose you haven't been outside the palace very often at all, have you? Not really. The wolf grimaces. I apologize for that. I know it seems like you should be more free to travel after what happened, but the people are... Amicus takes a moment to find his words. Very curious about you. It would be difficult to keep them from crowding.
They all draw fan art about you, and they all have crushes on you. You're on Celebrity Gossip News.
Very generous proportions. I raise an eyebrow as I see the lights in the distance, twinkling through the tree branches. But we're headed to the city right now, aren't we? I don't think I can deal with crowds, at least not now, when I'm not really prepared for it. Well, I cleared the district for our arrival, though that was supposed to be, I'd say 5 hours ago. Sounds great, working great. But still, it's late enough that the streets should be mostly empty. Oh. I draw closer to Amicus. Where are we going? You'll see. There's a sly smile on the wolf's face as we trudge along the path, walking in comfortable silence. Eventually, we break through the trees into the small, quaint street that I'd been on before. Sure enough, it's completely empty, aside from one or two figures moving up the sidewalk or standing in a doorway. I notice then that Amicus is becoming more excited, and it shows in his widening strides, and I have to hurry to keep up. I try to think of where he could possibly be taking me. Amicus? The wolf pauses, waiting for me to catch up, then places his paw against the small of my back, and suddenly I'm thrust forward at his speed, forced along in a stumbling gait. Whoa! Come on, it's right here! The wolf sweeps me under a dark archway. There's a door in front of us, the soft glow of light barely showing through the frosted glass framing the door. It looks like it's closed, and I look up at Amicus in question. But the wolf doesn't seem bothered, and simply knocks on the door. We wait a few moments, then Amicus leans in toward the crack, talking loudly through it. Hello? Gaius? Something beyond the door blots out the light, and Amicus steps back before suddenly drawing me to his side, as if preparing to introduce me to someone. I stand there awkwardly, trying to prepare myself for whatever this is. When the door opens, it's not what I expect at all. An old she-wolf in an apron, with a cloth tied over the top of her head, peers around the corner, cracked open just enough so that her muzzle can fit through. I feel Amicus shift next to me, and he forces his smile even bigger. Hello? The old woman squints.
Do you know how late it is? Hello?
Amicus is quiet for a moment, clearly taken aback by the other wolf's lack of reaction. He clears his throat. I am Amicus, your emperor, and this is Marco, my companion. That's a new title. I look up at the wolf in question, but he goes on staring at the she-wolf, who only continues to stare back at him. Maybe you are familiar.
No, I don't think so.
Amicus stares, his mouth gaping open while the woman starts to close the door. Quickly, Amicus lets go of me to reach out, stopping the door from closing just by an inch. Excuse me, please. Could you summon Gaius? He will know who I am. The old wolf sticks her muzzle back through the crack, glaring now.
Gaius was relieved of his shift 3 hours ago. You know it's the 2nd hour?
Is it 2 a.m.?
What the fuck, Amicus?
Christ.
This is pretty damn rude.
I had suspected, though I had hoped he would have waited for me.
You thought wrong, dear.
Amicus bristles. Excuse me, but do you realize who you're speaking to, your emperor, woman?
Oh, Amicus, no. Don't talk to Grandma that way.
Now I bristle. Even though I don't know what's going on exactly, I do feel a surge of disappointment at seeing my lover use the "do you know who I am" line.
Dude, oh my gosh, if I was at a fucking restaurant and some person I was with tried to pull that shit on like a waiter or waitress, be like, I want better seating. Do you know who I am? I'd be so embarrassed. I'd be,
it's so
God.
much. You're like, no. Amicus. I try to say it under my breath so the other wolf doesn't hear. What? I'm just trying... The door starts to close again, and Amicus quickly reaches out, but this time the old woman is ready. She reaches out to smack his paw hard, making Amicus gasp in surprise before the door slams shut. How dare... Amicus looks at lost for a moment, as if he's never experienced something like this before and doesn't know what to do. Then he tries to open the door, but it's locked. He probably hasn't. This is probably a completely alien experience to him.
It's probably good for him.
Being treated by like a person.
It's good for him. Be told no every once in a while.
I flash back to just how, like, he just... Like him yelling at Calm about the frustration of things not going as planned when he's
so bad at planning.
Yeah, like when he's in your bedroom before he even abducts you, he's like petulant almost. Like when he's dealing with Calm, like he just is not used to these interactions at all.
Well, I mean maybe that's why he doesn't fucking plan for anything, right? Because he's just like, oh, things will just work out for me.
Yeah,
shit's gonna work out for me.
At the same time, you're just like, oh, this poor fucking guy. Just give him a minute. Just let something work, because nothing works ever. like he probably looked forward to this for like a month or more. It's like, but that's gonna be the one good day, and then everything's going to shit.
That is sad, but you still can't be mean to Grandma.
Yeah. He then resorts to pounding on the door with a heavy fist, lips drawn back to show his teeth. Open the damn door. I was promised a special banquet in the human's honor. Do you hear me, woman? I reach out, pushing a hand against Amicus's chest. Holy shit, Amicus, stop. I hiss at him under my breath, looking around, not having expected to be embarrassed at Amicus's behavior. I'm so used to embarrassing myself.
Probably in like a nice, kind way, not like a belligerent asshole way.
What? Do you hear yourself?
Do you hear yourself?
What do you mean? I paid for their services and had everything planned. We're 5 hours late. But I'm the Emperor, and you are my guest, and that woman... I step closer, cutting Amicus off, even as I lower my voice, surprised at the sudden surge of anger I'm feeling. Amicus, you're acting like a spoiled brat right now. Just like Cassius. And stop calling her woman.
Yeah.
Amicus's indignant demeanor seems to deflate a little bit at that. I'm not acting like him at all. And what else should I call her? She is a woman. It's the way you're saying it.
It's the way you're saying it.
And I don't know, maybe ma'am could be a good start. Well, she's certainly not acting like a madam. Is this how you act when you don't get your way? Amicus has always had an entitled streak. I mean, it's kind of what got me in the situation in the first place. But I thought he'd have changed a bit after everything we've been through.
Sassy. I do like his little sassy face, though.
This face. Especially over something as small as this. Amicus must see the disappointment in my face because he deflates further, blowing out a big breath that ruffles back my hair and smells vaguely of lavender. No, I don't. I promise. It's just that I had something very special planned, and... Amicus looks back at the door, trying to see through the frosted glass, as if whoever he's looking for will magically appear. Amicus, you can't expect anyone to wait 5 hours for you, whether you're Emperor or not. I think. Except me, of course. Yeah. I see the moment Amicus gives up on his grand plan, whatever it was, as his deflation completes in a slouch, and suddenly he looks very, very tired. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. Let's just head back to the palace. Maybe we could go someplace else? I wouldn't mind finding a hole in the wall that's open late. But Amicus is already walking back up the road toward the forest, shaking his head. I would rather we reserve the location ahead of time so I can ensure your safety. It's too late for that tonight.
I don't know many hole in the walls that'd be open at 2 a.m. anyway. That's like fucking Denny's.
I was gonna say fucking Denny's.
Man, I love Denny's in the early AMs. It's the weirdest. Best time I've ever been there was in Vegas.
Would you like a moons over my hammy? I never remember what that even is.
No, I just remember that from there's a Family Guy joke about that where
is there?
Yeah, where Brian gets pissed because they screwed up. They like overcooked his moons over my hammy, and he says it so seriously that it's funny.
It's such a memorable name, just a strange item name, but I never remember what it actually is.
Is Moons Over Miami a song or something? I don't know that reference.
Like it's a pun?
Well, it's definitely supposed to sound like Moons Over Miami, but I don't know that phrase.
I don't know.
But
I've ordered it before and I don't even remember what it is. It's just goofy.
I know one of my teachers in college was a lady who got pregnant in a Denny's bathroom at like early AM on purpose from a stranger who she never told.
What the fuck?
No, she went to Denny's explicitly to find someone to like have a kid with that she'll never see again.
The gall of that mission.
Yeah, but I just think it's funny that she was like, I'm gonna find someone at Denny's. That's easy. Like, of all the places to go, like, you don't go to a bar. Because if you're already at Denny's...
Just the idea that you're gonna that easily approach someone and it's gonna work out in that, like, time frame.
You'd be surprised how many people would say yes if any individual just kind of was like...
them in the middle of the night.
Hey, I was curious. Were you interested in some casual sex? And you're very polite.
No condoms.
Very polite about it.
There's some red flags there. Not even just... I don't even mean the casuals. I mean the part where, like, the implication here is definitely no condom with random person that just solicits you. Like, that had to be...
If you're strung out at a Denny's at 3 a.m., you might not be the smartest... your head might not be in the best place.
The consequences of those actions.
Yeah, well, she had a kid that she loved very much.
Yeah, surprise mystery baby you don't know you have out there.
That's a horrifying thought. I'm lucky that that's impossible to happen to me.
Because at any moment...
Because, like, if I had a kid, I would know.
Yeah. You're not going to just fucking Umbrella Academy one out and forget. Yeah. This is... A quick side note. What a distressing thing to remember. Do you know Umbrella Academy?
I'm aware of it. I've not seen
it. It opens with the scene of somebody just having So a Russian diver jumps into a pool and then she's underwater for too long, and then when she surfaces she's 9 months pregnant and in labor. And she just gives birth. Like, they pull her out of the pool and she gives birth on the side of the pool, and she wasn't pregnant when she jumped in. That's the opening scene of the show. Thought. It's horrifying.
Dude, I have dreams all the time where I'm pregnant with a kid and I don't know why or how, I had a dream I gave birth to the baby from Lamb the other day, the little lamb-faced child. And I was like, what do I do with this? No one will help me. Every once in a while I have a dream like that.
I don't remember how we got to the pregnancy. Oh, because you brought up the Denny's. No, this is a series of tangents that are attached to each other. I forgot how I have to like retrace the steps. Did you have another tangent?
No, that was it.
That was it. That was you apologizing afterwards. I thought you were introducing one.
Oh no. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry I did this.
Perfect continuous flow of the story. No interruptions.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
I hope you enjoyed the moons over my hammy to body horror pipeline.
To A24's Lamb. Disappointing movie, but the cutest child of all time.
I follow Amicus at a slight distance, feeling generally disappointed and baffled over what just happened.
Like how I felt at the end of Lamb.
Oh. Well, I'm still feeling somewhat stunned at Amicus's behavior. I also feel bad because it's clear he really wanted to make tonight special. And to see him so defeated. I catch up with him and walk alongside the wolf, just as we pass under the cover of the many branches, our path lit by the firefly-like insects floating around us. Well, we could do something at the palace, maybe have a picnic? Amicus heaves a heavy sigh. Honestly, Marco, I'm a bit tired, and it's not even Lover's Day anymore anyway. The wolf says the last bit so quietly that I barely catch it. And just like that, my attempts to keep my own mood light give in, and I sour instantly. Well, if your goal is to ruin the rest of the night, you're doing a damn good job of it. Suddenly, we're having one of our old fights again. The way we would feed off each other's negativity and just spiral into a shared mood of sulk. Usually, I'd be the one to start it, but this time I feel like Amicus is the clear culprit. I stare at the ground, frowning even though I feel Amicus's eyes on me. Then it takes me a few moments to realize he's stopped walking. I stop too, then turn around to look back at him. We regard each other for a moment, then Amicus takes a deep breath. I realize that I am acting like a spoiled pup, and I apologize. I do not want this to ruin the rest of the night, even though there is not much left of it. I stand there, not saying anything because it looks like Amicus wants to say more. I promise you, I do not often act in such a way in front of my subjects. I just so desperately wanted for something to go right after everything that happened. Not often. I raise an eyebrow, but smirk at the same time, wanting to show Amicus that I'm willing to lighten up as well. I mean, never, really. I've never used such words to get my way during all of my emperorship, and it was only because it was for you. I sigh. Well, please don't ever feel the need to act that way on my behalf again, especially when you're yelling at an old lady and calling her woman. I still do not see the problem with that. She is a woman. Amicus starts walking again, and I walk alongside him. And like I said, it's the way you're saying it, like it was an insult somehow. I did not mean it that way. I mean, I kind of feel like you did, but I get it. You were raised in this society of...
Society of wolves.
Amicus huffs out a sigh. Yes, I know. But I've been doing a lot to progress the rights of women in this society. Just yesterday, I put into motion legislation that will allow females to request a divorce before a court.
Oh gosh, they're that far behind!
No!
Oh no. Oh gosh.
Oh no.
God, speaking of nightmares.
And they couldn't before? Well, no, the husband had to.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
I would never get married.
Gods, are you humans going to be like the Chemians, shocked and disgusted by every aspect of our society?
Yes.
I shrug.
Yes.
I mean, some definitely will be. Do you not have your own problems? I laugh. Oh, yeah, we do. We definitely do. I'm sure you'll be beyond shocked by some of the things that we've done to ourselves. Like? I close my eyes, shaking my head. Oh, I'll let the diplomats reveal that to you. But yeah, most places on Earth still have problems when it comes to equality. A lot of problems. Then why do you judge me so harshly? Because I know you can do better, and I know you have the power to create immediate change. Technically, but realistically, I know, it's a slow process. But you know, where you found me, Italy, it's doing alright with equality, and a lot of Europe is doing great, so I know Adastra can be better. Things go quiet for a moment, the tangent feeling a little strange, like there's more to it than just gender equality. Amicus senses it too, of course. While I know that the parents, through whatever space wizardry they possess, brought us together due to perfect compatibility, sometimes I wonder about their measurements, because in some instances we do feel worlds apart. I look at Amicus, the statement making me feel a little sad. Well, I guess we really are. But I love it. I love that about you. You open my eyes, you surprise me, and I've accepted the fact that you come from a better functioning society. I'm willing to learn. I look down, feeling a little embarrassed. Well, humans have a lot to learn. We're kind of a disaster too. Then let us learn together. But back to what I was saying previously, Marco, we're running out of time, and I need to do something with you. I feel like I missed that tonight. I feel my chest twinge a bit at that. We still have time. I suppose. It's quiet again, and though things aren't fully relaxed again, most of the tension has left the air. After a few more minutes of walking, simply enjoying the cold night air, I clear my throat. So, what was that whole restaurant thing about? Amicus chuckles, kicking a rock with a big footpaw, and sending it tumbling up the path to clack loudly against the roots of a tree. I had, decided to get a head start on human integration into the Galaxius, even though the citizens won't know it. How so? Well, a cultural staple for all species is oftentimes their food. Yeah. I have an idea of where this is going, but I don't know how it's possible. So, I've established a human cuisine restaurant. That's so much. The level of this is so much. The investment. Oh, really?
I don't know how he expects to. I don't know if he doesn't know enough about human cuisine.
Yes.
I just imagine them serving like Hot Pockets on like a really fancy plate.
But, how? Tom analyzed and stored a fragment of the data from your Nexus back on Earth. Though not all ingredients are the same, we substituted as best we could and developed food that is, in my opinion, rather authentic.
You don't have an opinion. Let me fucking try it. I'll tell you if you got it right.
Yeah, but basically they downloaded from the internet. They have recipes from the internet, and they're going to approximate some version of human cuisine from that. It's going to be human Taco Bell.
Pretty much.
Huh. You know, there's a lot of food from different cultures on Earth, so a lot of different types of food. Oh, I kept it all in Italy, at least for now. In fact, our first item was Neopolitan Pizza. Amicus's suddenly heavily accented voice startles me a bit, as it always does. The wolf chewing around the wolves like he's actually eating it. The words, did I say wolves?
Chewing around the wolves.
When he awkwardly said that part, it was untranslated and it's his normal voice. Because he's just like, because he's saying the words directly. Wow. So, as you would expect, I wanted you to try all the items to let us know how we did. Amicus is talking about all of this like the restaurant was his own project, something he'd been working on for some time. I thought it would be a fun distraction for you, but As you know, things did not go as planned.
That is a really nice gift.
That's so much.
That's such a nice gift.
That's such a big gesture that completely collapsed. I would be really stressed out too.
Yeah.
Like I'd be losing my fucking mind right now.
I thought he just had like a big dinner plan for us.
He's been like, I wonder how much he threw the negotiations because he's stressed literally the entire day about this thing that he's been working on for like months.
Will he like the spaghetti?
What a disaster. No. It would have been fun. And I am disappointed that we didn't get to do it together, but the thought alone of what Amicus had planned for me is enough to warm my chest, and I lean against him. Well, thank you anyway, and I mean it. Amicus huffs and slides his arm around my side, rubbing my shoulder vigorously. Well, we'll do it again sometime soon. Can't open it without you giving your approval first. Oh, I didn't know it would all depend on me. Of course. The restaurant is named in your honor, after all.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, God, really? Really? I feel myself blushing at the thought of my name on a restaurant. Marco's is an intensely regular name for a restaurant.
It really
on Earth,
is.
too.
And also an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
Marco's.
Yeah, Marco's Italian. Marco's Pizza. Like,
dude.
It doesn't even sound like a good restaurant.
No.
It sounds like a chain.
But it does sound like it sounds like a human restaurant.
Yeah, go order Neopolitan at Marco's.
Neopolitan
It's a $5.
Pizza.
You get a $5 in the preheated rack like it's a hot dog at a gas station.
Like at Little Caesars?
Yes.
A Little Marco's?
Yeah. It's embarrassing for some reason, but also incredibly sweet. And I think we should have that picnic. Nothing like a third-hour dinner in the moonlight. You sure? You look pretty tired. I'll live, technically. Amicus lets me go after a moment, and as he does, I slide my hand down against his paw, taking hold of it. We don't hold hands often, mainly because it's something the wolves just don't really do. But nothing about it feels strange or out of place as we walk down the path, hand in paw, with only the glow of the moon and the firebugs to guide us. There's an eerie edge to it all. And while I might have been a little nervous if we were alone, I don't feel any of that with Amicus. If I were alone. Oops. It does make me think back, though, at what happened at the university. Amicus? What do you know about the other? Why do you ask that? I shrug. I don't know. I've had it explained to me a few times, but I still don't really understand it. You don't need to worry about it. It's just the entire purpose behind everything we're doing, supposedly. I look up at Amicus, glaring. Are you serious? I'm not saying that to exclude you. It is honestly something that you do not need to fret over. It's thousands of years away, something you will never see. I look back down at the ground, frowning. Are you alright? I don't know. Doesn't it already sort of have a presence around us? How much has that jackal been telling you? I swear... Hey. He's the only one that's been telling me anything about it. What else do I have to go on? Listen, Marco. All that is known for certain is that it exists and that it is a threat. The rest are stories and pseudoscience. I can't say for certain that those two things that we know for sure are things we know for sure.
Well, it exists and that is a threat. I mean, I feel like that is equally as scary. Like, that in itself is horrendously scary. Like I don't even think you need the pseudoscience to make that more scary than it already is. It's already, like, almost the worst thing it could possibly be.
Yeah.
It exists and that is threatening, and it'll be here eventually. Like, that is enough for it to be a horrifying concept.
Amicus, when I was in the university, I heard voices telling me what might happen to us. What? I take a deep breath, deciding that I trust Amicus enough to tell him this, no matter how crazy it is. When I finish, Amicus is quiet for a moment. So, am I just crazy? No, and I don't doubt you at all. Would you be offended if I offered the idea that it could very well have been a dream? No. It probably was. It just worried me. As it should have. It sounds frightening. Amicus pulls me against his side again. But I am very happy you told me, and I hope you'll tell me if you experience anything else. After what we have been through, I think we should be open to all possibilities. Yeah. Just being able to talk to Amicus about it has made me feel better. That Amicus is taking this seriously, even though it very likely was a dream. But in the very, very unlikely event that it was the other, then the stories would indicate that it doesn't think on its own and simply works with what it has in your mind. It projects your own worries into your reality, and even then it can't hurt you in such a weak state, and that's assuming that its remnants really do exist in the first place. Well, I'm glad the palace isn't haunted. Well, having lived there all my life, I can guarantee that that is the case. I've never seen anything unexplainable there. This forest, on the other hand. What? Well, some say a creature called the Simiar boar lives within the forest surrounding the city.
Is it a sentient tree, like arbor? Like...
Oh yeah? Amicus sees my smile. Oh yes! It's actually thought to be a primate of some sort.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Climbs and jumps from tree to tree.
Did he just like made a name of a Pokemon? Like Simian,
Simian boar?
and Arbor.
Yeah.
A tree Simian.
It totally sounds like a fucking Pokemon.
Oh my gosh, Amicus.
It's completely black, and its face is on the opposite side of its head, so that its red glowing eyes can stare at you while it clings to branches. It's fucking SCP. I can tell Amicus is trying to scare me, and even though I feel a little creeped out, his own presence makes it almost impossible to feel scared.
Monkeys and trees are not something I generally find to be in any way scary.
Yeah.
I just think it's delightful and fun.
Yeah. But it's a backwards head.
Oh, no.
And it's got a scary face. Like the dog that smiles. Smile dog, probably, I think is what it's called.
I mean, I don't think that one's scary either. It's fucking dog.
Smile dog, rule 34, let's go.
Oh, 100%.
I think there already is.
No, I
think I've seen it.
I'm probably... I think there was Rule 34, like, the day after it started existing.
Yeah, and you've seen it? I've heard strange noises and maybe movement in the trees while out hunting before. Yeah, alright.
What do they hunt?
Simiavore. Amicus smirks at me as we continue walking, and even though I know he's teasing me, I still feel that prickle of paranoia on the back of my neck. I distract myself by telling Amicus about our own primate cryptids back on Earth.
Bigfoot.
Yep, despite the bad start to our Lover's Day, I find myself happy, just being able to have this strange conversation with my wolf. And we are stopping there. That one got long,
yeah.
But I couldn't let myself interrupt the middle of any of the, like, that was like one scene continuously for like an hour with tangents. See you next time.
Adios.